The moon. One of the most mysterious factors about Pokemon. The moon plays a humongous role in the Pokemon world. Not only does it light the night sky, but a lot of different Pokemon are rumored to have come from the moon or have a direct connection with it themselves. The moon plays a very big part in the ways these Pokemon live their lives, and some even depend on the moon's energy for their own survival. The moon has a very mysterious effect on some of these Pokemon, and it's very interesting to see how the moon affects these Pokemon on an individual basis. That's why today, me and fellow Poketuber Woopsire will be discussing our thoughts on what Pokemon have the closest correlation with the moon and what meaning they have behind it.
How's it going, rebels and reblets? I am Woopsire, and today, Mystic and I are going to be delving into the mysteries of the moon. So without further ado, let's dive right in. To start off this list, we actually have two Pokemon, Teddiursa and Ursaring. These Pokemon are not actually directly related to the moon in the Pokemon world, despite their moon-shaped crests on their head and bodies. The main reasoning behind these crests is to point out that these Pokemon are based off the two constellations Ursa Minor and Ursa Major. Ursaring being based off of Ursa Major and Teddiursa being based off of Ursa Minor. Though these two Pokemon may not be based off of the moon directly, their crests represent how the moon plays a huge part in the vast world of the stars, and how these two Pokemon are based off of two celestial beings.
The power of evolution drastically changed once Generation 2 introduced the power of the day and night cycle. Two new evolutions of Eevee were introduced, being able to evolve with friendship during the night or daytime. But since this is a moon Pokemon list, the evolution being targeted is none other than Umbreon. Umbreon is the evolution that evolves during the night with friendship. Eevee evolved into Umbreon from exposure to the moon's energy pulses, according to its Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire Pokedex entry. Umbreon's evolution being triggered by the moon waves make this Pokemon a great candidate for a moon Pokemon and the mascot for my channel.
Rumored to have come from space, Clefairy were introduced in Generation 1, where the player could encounter them at Mount Moon. Mount Moon plays a big part in the ritual that Clefairy take part in. On the nights of the full moon, Clefairy come out to dance in front of the lake located deep inside the depths of Mount Moon. The moon reflects off the lake, and in a sense, the Clefairy worship the moon. Not to mention, Clefairy store the energy they gather from the moon and store them in their wings, causing them to float. Clefairy depend on the moon to get around and practically survive off of it, as they hide in deep and quiet mountains once the dawn breaks, according to its Pokemon Emerald Pokedex entry. All in all, Clefairy have a deep connection with the moon, and the way they connect with it is a lot more compelling and interesting than any Pokemon we have seen up to this.
Literally being called the lunar Pokemon, Cresselia is said to represent the crescent moon, according to a variety of its different Pokedex entries. Not only do its Pokedex entries point to this, but Cresselia's name origin does as well. Cresselia's name is a combination between crescent, referring to the phase of the moon, and Selene, referring to the Greek goddess of the moon. Cresselia, as we can see, has a very close connection to the moon, but that's not the only connection it shares. Cresselia could also have a very close connection to the constellation Cygnus, considering the colored planetary rings around its body, and its celestial symbol being the crescent moon. The symbolism of Cygnus can be seen in Cresselia's body structure, as it closely resembles a swan, and in a variety of Cresselia's Pokedex entries, it mentions Cresselia having feathers.
I think a lot of you guys were expecting to see this Pokemon in the number 1 slot. If you guessed Lunatone, well, you're correct. Lunatone is practically like a moon itself, looking exactly like the moon and having the exact coloration of the moon as well. Not only does this Pokemon look exactly like the moon, its name origin means lunar rock. Considering its name has Luna in it, has to have some connection to the moon. According to its Pokemon Diamond Pokedex entry, it describes how Lunatone becomes very active on the night of the full moon, and it is said to have a connection to the lunar phase of the moon itself.
Seeing how Lunatone has this very strong connection with the moon, what about its counterpart Solrock? Doesn't it look an awful lot like the sun? Speaking of the sun, you guys can go check out mine and Woopsire's list of what we think are the closest Pokemon related to the sun. That also pretty much wraps up this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and share this video with a friend. As always, I've been Mystic Umbreon, and I will see you in the future for more Pokemon content.